Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to talk about the horror film that has been sweeping the nation this week, as it seems like there has been one that's been sweeping the nation every week in the early stages of 2022, and that is X, directed by Ty West. I went into this knowing that it was a movie about making porn and that Kid Cudi and Jenna Ortega were in it, because people haven't been able to shut up about Jenna Ortega for the past 3 months ever since Scream came out. And to be fair, that's pretty warranted actually, because Jenna Ortega was the only good part of the new Scream film to me. And I was actually also a little bit interested because Ty West is a director that I think has a lot of potential. The House of the Devil is a really good film. I liked his part of the VHS film and the ABCs of Death film. And In a Valley of Violence with Ethan Hawke is actually a solid outing too. So I was interested to see what he would do in an A24 horror formula. And based on his other outings, I can definitely say that X disappoints in some areas, but also flourishes in others. I like to talk about the positives first. The cinematography. Holy moly, is it amazing. Elliot Rocket, who has worked on other West films, such as The House of the Devil, is the person to praise here, and the camera movements that he executes are nuts. I truly believe that cinematography is one of the most underutilized aspects of slasher films. I feel like there is so much room to grow, and there are so many opportunities to revolutionize shots and revolutionize the way that the genre is shot, and I feel like chase scenes could be revolutionized, and this does that in a lot of different ways. There's a specific shot where one of Mia Goth is swimming away from an alligator, and it's absolutely haunting. It's gorgeous, and it's just the overhead, and it's cutting between it coming up behind her and her swimming in the water. I think that the camera work here is absolutely flawless. The score, although very classic minimalist A24 horror, is really great, and the surprising thing to me is seeing that Tyler Bates, known for the Guardians movies and a bunch of John Wick movies and Deadpool 2, a bunch of action, superhero, very fast-paced movies, was able to make such a grounded, minimalist, very, very operatic almost score that really fit the tone of what X was going for. And so I have to give kudos to him for that also. The ensemble cast is all really, really, really good, but obviously the standout of it is Mia Goth playing Maxine, the girlfriend of the director and one of the stars of the film, and also she is playing the elderly lady that lives in the house across the way from the little cabin that they're renting out. Her performance as an old woman is so well done. Usually when I see younger actors attempt the role of an older person, they just kind of talk like this, and they hunch their back, and it's all super base level stuff. But man, Mia Goth is able to do the facial expressions on point. She's able to do the physical acting, not just the hunchback, but just the movements are very great. I think it's just fantastic, honestly. I know that the Jenna Hive will attack me if I do not mention her, so I will definitely say that she put in a good performance as well as Brittany Snow. So unfortunately now is the point where we go to the more negative side of the review as I go over my problems, and I don't want you to think that I'm going super hard on this film or I'm too harsh, because overall, spoiler alert, I did actually like it, but there was such a potential for it to be so much more. I guess this is kind of a minor spoiler, but not really, because it's kind of in the trailer, but kind of not. I think that the premise of an old woman being so sex deprived that she sees a group of people shooting a porno and then goes on a killing spree is one of the most interesting premises that I've heard in the past decade. All of the interesting deaths that could happen. Everything is perfectly set up. You have such a sandbox to play with of opportunities. And the problem with this movie is it does not expand on basically any of them. There are so many ways that you could take this story. There are so many backgrounds that you could divulge about multiple different characters, and it didn't seem like there was a lot of effort put into that at all. And it was more focused on creating a more scary, atmospheric experience, but I couldn't really get that without understanding the stakes that were involved. I feel like a horror film about pornography really either A, could have some really good meta commentary in there, or B, should literally go balls to the wall. And it does neither of those. It's very basic. The kills are pretty uninventive. The story is kind of basic, and we don't really get an idea about why these people are doing what they're doing. And when I say these people, I mean literally any of them. I'm aware that the common trope in slasher films is that these people are here just to die. But if we're talking about the best slasher films, or at least one of the best slasher films of all time, such as Halloween, we knew about Laurie Strode. We knew the situation and what relation she had to the situation and how it was affecting her. We got the backstory on that. And there's nothing here to make me really care about any of these people at all. That's the problem, because X is so hyper stylized and it's so brilliant in, I'd say, every single technical element that it brings to the plate, that it seems like a film, or it comes off as a film that really focused on getting all of those elements just perfect. And it didn't really care about the story or going on around it. There are also a lot of subplots going on, or like minor things happening in characters' storylines that just seem to happen and never get addressed whatsoever throughout the rest of the film, even though it seems like it's leading up to something that just never comes to fruition. In fact, there's this really interesting storyline between Jenna Ortega and her boyfriend's characters about sex work and the implications that it has on a relationship, and it seems to be going in a very interesting direction, and then the killings start to happen and it's completely abandoned for the rest of the movie. There's maybe one line of reference to it that's supposed to have some level of closure, but doesn't even act remotely as good as it really should. And to be honest with you, the only plot line that does come to a good, solid ending and conclusion is the one between the older couple, and there's a scene towards the end of the film that, in my opinion, is the best scene of the film. And if you've seen the film, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't seen the film, trust me, you won't be prepared for it. So I guess that's exactly how I wish they would have concluded these other storylines of these other characters that we barely even got to know. Because there's in the first half of the film, there's barely any horror whatsoever. But there's a lot of conversation and a lot of philosophical conversation. And during those philosophical conversations, there are a lot of interesting points brought up about the 70s, freedom, liberation, pornography in general, and the stigma that comes with it. And I feel like those could have been very well integrated into a slasher film, yet I absolutely did not see it. A lot of people are saying that there's a parallel to be drawn between the points that are being made about the pornography industry and the horror film industry in general. I don't really agree with that. It doesn't really come off that way to me, but maybe I'm just completely missing it. That's also a possibility. As much as I have ranted about my frustrations with X, I will ultimately champion it because it is a good original IP that is doing something different than the usual crowd. And that's exactly what we need to resuscitate the dead landscape of Hollywood right now. I am going to give X a 6 out of 10. It's a very good outing. It just could have been a lot better to me. I think that's about it for X. Go see it. It's definitely worth a watch on a big screen. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evenings or days or wherever it is, whenever you're watching this. I got a video essay coming next maybe a review of Cheaper by the Dozen if I really feel interested in it. But the video essay that's coming next will be on the implications of Red Rocket versus Licorice Pizza. And if you've seen either of those films or both of them, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I hope you guys, again, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you in the next one. Goodbye.